Today we have a 2013 Mini Cooper 1.6 diesel with roughly 82,000 miles on it. So we've got this Mini here today, which we're going to be working on the braking system. If you're doing brake pads, front or rear, it's a good idea to take off the cap to the brake fluid reservoir first, because when you wind the pistons in or push the pistons in, the brake fluid will come up and trickle over. Unfortunately, it's a little bit difficult to make a tidy job of it. You can't really catch it unless, I guess you could siphon some out first. If the brake fluid does trickle over, when you're finished, we'll run through it anyway. It's water soluble, so it's a good idea just to put the cap on and rinse it off, because it also makes a good paint stripper. So if you do spill it anywhere, make sure you've got some water to rinse it off. So we're going to be doing the rear brakes on this Mini. I'm pretty sure it's going to need discs and pads, but we'll take the wheels off and have a look. It's a good idea when your customer's with you to ask them if they've got the locking wheel nut key, or at least ask where it is, because you generally find they're not in the same place in any car. So we've got this. I'm gonna drop the ramp down slightly actually and crack the locking wheel nuts loose first with a bar. Yeah, it's quite tight. You don't really want to be using an impact gun on the locking wheel nut key, because you can damage them quite easily. I'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll take it up and get the wheels off. Right, I've already loosened these, so I'm just going to spin these bolts off. Get ready to catch the wheel. Sometimes they fall off and sometimes they are pretty much welded themselves on. But that one's not too bad. So we switched over to the driver's side rear, really just because it's got the wear sensor this side. It might be a little bit more to see when we strip it down. That wire there, that goes to your wear sensor. And you can see it looks like it's just started touching the brake disc. Pads are getting low, and the discs, they've got a fair lip on them, more so on the inner edge there. So we're going to go ahead and strip it down. So we'll start by undoing the two bolts that hold the caliper on. They're both 13mm. So I'll put that on there and give it a tap just to loosen it. If you're sensible, you could probably use a longer spanner or a bar and save your hands. Keep hitting things like I do. Right, that's loose. Got a ratchet spanner here, which should make things a little bit quicker. Should do. That's still quite tight actually. A lot of these have Loctite on them, being brakes, so they can be a little bit tighter than normal. So 13mm on the outside and a 15mm in there on that nut. Yeah, you can see the blue Loctite there, thread lock. So same again on the bottom. Oh, am I going the wrong way? Right, so at this point, should be able to get the caliper off. Just lever it off. If it doesn't come off, you can normally get the screwdriver in behind the disc and pull the caliper across, which will push the piston in to give you a little bit more room to get the caliper off. And we've got that wear indicator wire. Forgot about that. Which is a loom that runs around under the car. So we'll take the ramp up next and I'll show you where that's plugged in. So this is the rear brake pad wear sensor indicator loom. It comes out here. It clips onto this other loom here, which I think is the ABS sensor loom. So I've just been unclipping it. Comes round. I've got a metal clip here with both looms in. Goes through a hole, and it's the white one on this model. So I get that down. I think it's got two little ears that you need to press in, or just one. Oh, there it is. There's a little tab there. Which, as you can imagine, it's not the easiest thing to pull apart. It's been underneath the car for a good few years. Hopefully that will come out through that hole there. That's it. Right, I'll drop the ramp back down and we'll carry on removing the caliper. Right, so we're back to a working height. The caliper off. That sensor loom, I can pull that through there now, hopefully. Oh, maybe I'll wait until I've wound the piston in. That's a bit tight there. Just gonna, cool. That's stuck in the caliper carrier. That's another thing to make sure doesn't happen. That is very tight in there. These should be loose in the carrier. So each time you put the brake on, the piston comes out, squeezes them together on the disc, and then they should release just fractionally. But if they get stuck like that, they're going to jam on and hold the brake on and wear down a bit quicker than normal and get a bit hot. That's one pad out. I think this other. So I'm just going to need a little tap. You can see it's cut into the sensor there. I'm not sure whether it's actually gone through the wires. But it's always good practice to replace these looms anyway. The loom itself, you should be able to get an aftermarket one for around the £10 to £15 mark. When you go into your factors or online, wherever you buy your parts and put the registration number in, they should be able to identify which sensor loom is applicable to your vehicle. Brake pads, I'd say roughly £25–30 aftermarket, and the rear discs, I believe these were £35 each. So on this particular car, the rear brake calipers, you can't just push them in with a big pair of grips, as I would usually do on the front or on the rear of some cars you can. You need a tool similar to this. I think you can persevere and do it with a pair of long nose pliers and a big pair of grips or a G-clamp, but it's very fiddly. These tools aren't that expensive. Brake caliper, piston, wind back toolkit. So you've got a selection of all different fittings for different calipers. This is the one that I'm going to need for the Mini. That's magnetic, so that holds it on there. And some calipers are, so this one I'll be winding clockwise to push the piston in, but other calipers, you need a left-handed one to wind anti-clockwise to push the piston in. But I believe these are, you turn these the normal way, clockwise. We shall soon see. Oh, actually, another little tip while that's apart. It's a good idea to have a look underneath this rubber. Make sure the piston's nice and clean and shiny. If that gets moisture in there, that will get rusty and start to seize. But you can see that's lovely and shiny in there. That's what you want to see. And also these two sliders here, you need to make sure they're free. Sometimes they seize up, and that will give you a seized caliper. It won't allow the caliper to slide side to side. So line up the two pegs with the slots in the piston. Wind that back a bit. Sometimes these are a bit stiff to get started. There it goes. Quite a bit tight. Oh, there it goes. Anyway, I'll carry on with this and we'll have that wound back in a second. That's it, wound in. Move that tool. Right, now that piston's wound back in, got a bit more space to pull this loom through with all the rubber clips on it now. That's it, that's that off. So we're going to take this caliper carrier off next, which is held on with two 16mm bolts going in this way from underneath. I believe there's one, I can't see, oh there it is, one in there and one down there. That's it, one caliper carrier removed. I think I'll go and put it in the vise now and give this a clean up. So now it's in the vise, just makes life a bit easier. We've got these metal anti-rattle shims, which I will take off in a moment, but while it's clipped in, I'm just going to give these a bit of a scrub up. And you could stop at that point and rebuild it, but let's just try one of these pads in there. Sometimes they're still very tight. Yeah, it's not too bad, but it could be better. So what I generally do is take these off, because you do find this part tends to rust up, you can see there, which packs this out and squeezes the pad even tighter. And there's quite a bit of rust on there actually. That's probably the main reason the rear brakes appear to be sticking a little bit. You know, I couldn't slide the old pad out easily. Oh, that's the top one, which doesn't suffer so bad. Obviously the water just drips off of that, but it all settles in the bottom one there. So if you can, give these a little bit of a dust off as well. It's getting quite dusty. I don't think there's any muck in there. No, it's just a thin layer of dust. That one. Again, that looks fine. Hopefully when that's fitted, that should be a little bit looser now. Yeah, that does move a bit freer. Oh, yeah, and that one, it's gone right through. Yeah, I'm happy with those. They're pretty free and easy now. I'll take that back to the car and we'll take the disc off next. So the rear discs on this, you can see it's just got one grub screw here, which is a Torx 45 bolt. Maybe I should have said before you start stripping it down, if you're not using an impact gun, you might want to just crack that loose when the caliper's on, because you can put the handbrake on to hold it still. But if you've got a gun, that should beat this easily. I'll give it a tap first, just to shock it and free it off if it is sticking or seized. That's it. Grub screw bolt out. Oh, well, that wasn't too difficult. That's the old brake disc off. So before I refit the new one, I'll grab the wire brush and just give this a dust off. Sometimes you can get bits of rust on here and you don't really want to trap anything between the disc and the hub. That will give brake judder. So make sure that's nice and clean. So whilst working on the other side, discovered something that I didn't actually know myself. I know you can do this with some Volkswagen Audi, but taking the grub screw out, and you can actually get the disc out without taking the carrier off. I mean, you might want to take it off anyway. The other side was quite tight with the pads in there, so gave it a good clean up, but you know, there's nothing stopping you from cleaning it in situ. So I'm just going to give this a quick clean off. It doesn't look too bad, I've seen a lot worse. Yeah, that's fine. With the new disc, they come with like an oily protection layer, like a lacquer, just to stop them corroding while they're in the packaging. So with a bit of brake and clutch cleaner, you can quite easily clean it off. Don't have to be spotless, because as soon as you start using the brakes, that's going to come off anyway, but I like to get the worst of it off. So we've just got to line up the grub screw. That's it, one disc fitted. So back underneath, I get this caliper carrier on. Just got to line up the bolt holes. And started. That's it, they're both started. Zap them up. And double check with a ratchet. Yep, they're both tight. So I've got the new pads here. You can see one's slightly different to the other, the backing. This one's got the cutout for the sensor. That cutout there is a lot smaller, the sensor won't fit in that. So this one needs to go to the inside. But first I'm going to put a little bit of copper grease on the ears of the pads where they contact with the anti-rattle shims in there. Should help prevent any, well, I say it prevents squeaking, but I guess it just helps to stop the pads getting stuck. Right, let's make sure we get these around the right way. So this one goes on the outside. Put that one down. That's it. Yep. And this one goes on the inside. What I'll do, I'll thread this through that way. It's a bit easier. And push that in. Snaps into place. And try and wriggle that in. I'll go down here as well. That's it. It's a lot looser than it was before, which is good. So we need to get this caliper back on. Push those in. That's it. Two 13 mils. Thirteen and 15 mil spanners. Just make sure that's tight. Yep, I'm happy that's all tight. Right, okay, so the sensor's still in place there. Just double check that. I did knock it. No, that's fine. We'll take the ramp up in the air and get this loom routed back through where it came from. So this loom pretty much followed the ABS sensor loom. I'll just get it laid in place first and then clip it all on. Oh yeah, you can see it's it'll only fit on round one way due to the shape inside there. That's it, snapped on. Clipped back in there. That went in there. That over the top of it. That clips onto, pushes onto the ABS loom. That's it. I believe that's it. Yeah. Yeah, happy with that. It's all in place. All clipped up, lovely. So next we'll drop the ramp down and give the brake pedal a pump and make sure the piston comes out and touches the disc. Right, so I've jumped back in the car now. I'm just going to pump the brake pedal, which is something it's best not to forget once you've had some brakes apart. Just make sure the pedal pumps up hard, because if you forget, the first time you go to apply the brakes, the pedal will more than likely go to the floor and nothing will happen. So if you watch the caliper now, you might see it pull to one side as I'm pushing the pedal. You might not see a lot happening, but that's it. That's the piston pushed back out. The caliper should be in place. Handbrake feels good. I'll come down now. I'll just make sure that that rotates freely. Which, yeah, that's fine. Excellent. So I'll carry on now and do the same on the other side, minus the sensor, of course. They only have a sensor on the driver's side rear on this particular model. Right, so now I'm happy that the sensor loom is all routed correctly. That's plugged back in, calipers on, done up tight, and the carrier, which is all good. Grub screws tight, it rotates freely. We'll get this wheel back on. Just do this one up gently. I'll drop this down on the ground and double check them with a breaker bar. Okay, so I'm happy they're tight. Something else we need to double check before we finish up, the brake fluid reservoir. Now luckily nothing's come out, it's just allowed the fluid to come up. Yeah, we're up to the maximum level there. It doesn't hurt if you go slightly over the maximum level, as long as it's got, you know, a gap in there for the air. if it does overflow, put your cap back on, do it up tight, and just give it a rinse off with some water, tap water. So that's just about it. All I'd suggest doing is giving it a run round the block. But before you move it, again, make sure you pump the brake pedal. Thanks for watching. If you find our videos helpful, please hit like and subscribe to help us out. Nice one.